lately. Also I noticed
Jack Collins,
my name is there. So.
Executive Vice President, Rapid Transit Implementation, Metrolinx.
I'm pleased that you asked me here today to talk about some of the investments we're making in rapid transit in the Toronto area. Opportunity to talk to you about what's in place, what's happening on Eglinton, a little bit there, but also talk about the future and what are the future plans. A little bit about the investment strategy. And then I have at the end of my presentation a little bit of a clip if you want to be a little bit visionary and think about how engineers, planners, and developers work together to actually transform a transit hub at Mount Dennis, which actually ties into one of the things that Ed Levy had on there as far as connecting to the airport and building a little bit of a transit network. So without further ado, if you don't know about Metrolinx, it consists of, it was created in 26. It's part of a plan to deliver long-term sustainable transportation and better transit in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. So we're a little bit beyond the Greater Toronto area. There's over 8,000 square kilometers in this area, population of 6 million, 4 levels of government, 30 municipalities, and 10 transit agencies. So you wonder why it's difficult to have a network. It's a lot. That's a lot of government. There's 3 operating divisions in GO in Metrolinx. We assumed GO Transit, which I think you all know. They run a regional rail and bus network. Union Pearson Express. This is a new division that will be opening up a system. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, up to Union Pearson Airport, well under construction. Presto, which is your fare card system that is now in place in actually probably Ontario. It's in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. It's also in Ottawa. And then what's not on the chart is the Rapid Transit Implementation Group. That's my group. And we're responsible for building the light rail lines in Toronto that are currently funded, and the bus rapid transit system in York Region. A section of that's already open. That's exclusive rapid transit running in the middle of Highway 7 and Yonge Street. We're all aware of congestion. It wasn't this bad when I lived here back in the 70s, when I used to drive into the city, but I actually lived in the city back in those days, near St. Clair and Yonge. It's gotten worse. We're kind of at a critical point in terms of congestion and moving around, 905 coming into the city. Average time spent in commuting each day in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area is now 82 minutes, which is among the longest in North America. Congestion costs our economy, and you've heard this number, of $6 billion a year in travel and lost productivity. And while you're idling and burning fuel on your commute in, we are contributing over 500,000 tons per year of greenhouse gases. And of course, people talk about taxes to build transit, but you actually are paying the oil industry for all the additional fuel you're consuming because you're not going very far. So what role does Toronto play in this demand for moving people? There are 2.8 million residents. It's the 4th largest city in North America. Canada's fastest growing large metropolitan region. It exceeds the aggressive growth targets set by the Provincial Growth Plan. Canada's financial and business capital. It's one of the top 5 for economic potential and infrastructure development. It's the 10th largest financial center in the world. It's the 5th largest downtown office inventory in North America and the lowest office vacancy rate of the top 5 cities. And Union Station is Canada's busiest transportation hub with over 250 passengers a day going through the station. So it kind of asks or begs the question, why did you ignore the downtown area and all these transportation plans that Ed was talking about? This is a picture of Union Station right now, and it's congested, and our transit system is straining from the growth of population.
Yeah, there's one smile in there.
It's you. I think it's you. Anyway, the problem is not going away, so we really need to look at a network. The TTC is over 1.6 million trips daily. It's hitting a record in 2011 for 500 million annual riders. And as you heard from the chair of the TTC, they're on pace for a record year in 2014 of 540 million passengers. A lot of those on the young Spadina subway network. GO Transit contributes to the load by running 250 weekday trips with over 2,400 weekday bus trips and an average of 65 million boardings a year. So GO, as a regional network, is bringing a lot of people into the city center. The lack of transportation development for the last 30 years. I left here 28 years ago, spent 28 years down in the States building transit. I came back to Toronto, and about the only thing that had been built is the Shepherd line, and the Spadina is still under construction. We were talking about it 30 years ago. There really has not been a lot of transit investment in the inner city where it's needed. GO has done a lot of expansion, but I think it exacerbates the problem by feeding so many people into the city core, where the jobs are. GO has had phenomenal growth in the last 10 years, 50% in 10 years, and 80% return on the fare box. So it's one of the highest for commuter rail in North America, along with the TTC on rapid transit. They also are way up in the stratosphere. In the States, you'd be lucky if you get 50%. The transit property I worked at, Silicon Valley, had less than 20% fare box recovery. Of course, they kept the fares low, and that was a policy of theirs. It was the recipient, GO Transit, of the 2013 APTO Award for an outstanding public transportation system in North America. First time ever recognized by peer agencies in North America. And look at the additional service added. 60 additional train trips since 2010. 530 additional bus trips since 2010. And it seems as soon as we add service, the additional capacity is taken up. So if you ride GO, you're riding in the peak hour, it's hard to find a seat. You can only extend platforms so long. We've got 12-car platforms now, and that doesn't seem to do the trick in terms of moving people in the peak hour. We have gone to half-hour service all day, two ways, on the Lakeshore East and West lines, and that's been very successful. And our ridership is not dropping, as you can see by the growth. Presto, I'm sure all you folks know about Presto. It's a smart card technology. It was launched in 2007 as a pilot. It's used across the GO network, and also all the 905 transit agencies in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area have it. There are 14 TTC subway stations and the City of Ottawa that are on the Presto system. There's over 886,000 cardholders. There's 145 million taps a day and over 565 million in paid fares that are loaded on the cards right now. We're growing at about 35,000 users per month. The usage rate's doubled on GO Transit since March 2012. It's a four-fold increase on use in 905 service providers like the Hamilton Street and Railway, MyWay, Brampton Zoom. And when we get fully launched on the TTC, which is just starting, we expect an additional 2.6 million cardholders by late 2016. So this will be more pervasive on all the buses and all of the subway stops by 2016. It'll also be on the new streetcars that TTC will be launching next year. Our transportation plan is called the Big Move. You may have heard of it. It identified over 60 transportation projects for the intermediate, medium, and long term. It's a blueprint of a more sustainable transportation future, and it was adopted in 2008 after a comprehensive public process. It spells out a vision and it makes our transportation system more seamless, coordinated, and efficient. The long-term vision of the Big Move is to build a fully integrated transit network across the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. The good news is we've already started. Here's some of the projects I just wanted to feature that are part of a $16 billion program that's currently underway, that's being implemented with many of these projects right here in the Toronto area. The heart of the GO network is Union Station. It's now in the midst of a major expansion. Ed mentioned that he goes down there sometimes to see the mess in front of Union Station, but I mean, it's a big investment. What's happening? We're tripling the size of the GO Transit concourses. We're installing a glass atrium and a green roof over the old track areas where you board your GO trains. We're making Union Station subway station a more comfortable experience for customers, adding a platform, transforming the environment for our customers waiting for trains at track level. And construction's well underway with the last steel columns for the new train shed roof installed. The glass should be finished and erected by the end of this year. And it would be substantially complete by next year. I'll give you a quick preview of what the York Street GO concourse will look like. So this is the west side of Union Station. You can't get in there. If you've been down there, there's hoarding, there's workers, there's mud, there's dirt, there's a whole bunch of crap going on. But by the end of this year, this concourse will be complete, and we'll then move over to the Bay Street concourse or the East concourse and start doing a similar improvement. There are two levels, so what's happening is there's actually a lower level that you can see in this slide where you'll be able to go down to a retail area that the city is building. So you'll have a little bit more of a retail, food type environment in Union Station for our passengers. This is supposed to open by the end of this year on the York side, the west side. So we're looking forward to that opening and the improvement to our customers. Up Express, Union Pearson Express, will provide a fast, reliable 25-minute service departing every 15 minutes from Union Station. It's going to link two of Canada's biggest hubs, the airport and Union Station. Key element of the Union Pearson infrastructure is the construction of a 3-kilometer spur. I don't think that slide loaded or not, but the spur is shown up here on the right-hand side, left-hand side, and it's constructed now and will be completed as far as the construction of that 3-kilometer spur by this summer. Tracks being installed. The new station is actually adjacent right to the parking structure of Terminal 1. So you'll be able to pop up from Union Station. There'll be a station at Bloor subway. There'll be a future station at Mount Dennis, one at Weston, and then you'll go into the airport. They're going to be running a diesel multiple unit. It's a smaller train. I know there was a lot of talk about track gauge. GO runs on tracks that are primarily run by the railroads. The railroads being CP, CN. Those are international track gauge. The TTC, for whatever reason, I'd like to know the reason why, their gauge is 2 inches wider. So it kind of creates a little bit of interoperability issues. But since we're running on freight railroads by and large, that's why we have that type of gauge.